Chapter 5. A History of Mankind, as told by Anastasia. Vedism. People had been living on the earth for billions of years. Everything on the earth was created perfect right from the start. Trees, blades of grass, bees, and the whole animal world. There is a direct connection between everything living on the earth and the entire universe. The apex of creation is man, and in the great pristine harmony of all things, man was created harmonious. Man's purpose is to learn about all his surroundings and create perfection in the universe, to create the likeness of the world of the earth and other galaxies, to create the likeness of the world of the earth and other galaxies. And with each new creation of his, to add more splendor to the earthly creations. The way will open for man to create on other planets when man is able to overcome temptation, when man is able to hold in unity the grand and diverse energies of the universe inherent in himself, and when he does not allow one of them to take precedence over the rest. The day when the whole earth is a paradise garden will mark the opening of the path of creation in the universe. And once man becomes aware of the whole harmony of the earth, he will be able to contribute his own splendor. Man takes it upon himself to take account of his actions once in every million years. Wherever he makes a mistake, whenever he allows one of the many diverse energies he contains to dominate at the expense of the rest, a global catastrophe takes place. Then everything starts again from the beginning. This has happened many times. One of mankind's million-year periods may be divided into 3 ages. First, the Vedic age. Second, the age of the image. And third, the age of the occult. The first age of human society on the earth, the Vedic, lasts 990,000 years. During this age, man lives in paradise like a gladsome child, maturing under parental care. During the Vedic age, God is known to man. All God's feelings are inherent in man, and through them man is able to obtain any advice he needs directly from God. And if man should suddenly make a mistake, God is free to correct him simply by giving a hint, without disturbing any general harmony or infringing on man's freedom in any way. In the Vedic age, man does not raise questions about how or by whom the world, the universe, the galaxies, along with his marvelous planet called Earth, were created. Everyone is completely aware that everything around, either visible or invisible, has been created by their Father, namely God. And God is everywhere. All that grows and lives, those are his living thoughts, his program. For one can use one's own thought to commune with the Father's thoughts. And one can contribute to his program, provided one first understands it in detail. During the Vedic age, man did not bow down before God, nor was there a multitude of religions which sprang up afterwards. There was a culture to life. People lived a divine way of life. There were no diseases of the flesh. Feeding and clothing himself in a divine manner, man simply did not think about food and clothing. Thought was otherwise preoccupied with the excitement of discovery, and no rulers reigned over human society. There were no boundaries marking off states as today. Human society on earth consisted of happy families. And the various continents were inhabited by families. They were all united by their aspiration to create a space of splendor. There were many new discoveries, and each family, upon making a splendid discovery, felt the need to share it with others. Families were formed by the energy of love, and everyone was fully aware that a new family would create one more oasis of splendor on their native planet. There were many rituals, holidays, and carnivals among the people of the Vedic age, each imbued with great meaning, sensitivity, and a conscious awareness of the real divine existence on the earth. Each ritual served as a grand school and a grand examination for each man that took part in it. An examination in the eyes of others, in the eyes of oneself, and consequently in the eyes of God. I shall tell you about and show you one of these rituals. It was a wedding rite, or rather, the recognition of the union of two people in love. Look and see. Try to compare the level of knowledge and culture with that of today. A union of two, a wedding. The wedding rite, a bonding of two hearts, took place with the participation of the entire village, sometimes several neighboring or even distant villages together. The lovers-to-be could meet in various ways. It could happen that two young people from the same settlement might fall in love. More frequently, this occurred at one of the major festivals where a number of villages got together. Then two gazes met, and a spark of feeling was ignited in their hearts. It did not matter whether he approached her or the other way around. They could tell a lot about each other's feelings simply by looking in each other's eyes. But there were words, too, which, when translated in today's language, might sound something like this. With you, my beautiful goddess, I could create a space of love to last forever, he would tell his intended. And if the girl's heart responded in kind, she might answer, my God, I am ready to help you in your grand co-creation. Next, the young lovers would jointly select a location for their future home. They would go together and visit the area around the settlement where he lived, and then visit a corresponding area near her village. And there was no need for the lovers to tell their parents of their plans. Everyone in both settlements knew what was going on and was fully aware of the grand happening that would soon take place. After mutually agreeing upon a site where they would make their future life together, the lovers would often retreat there, just the two of them. Sometimes they would spend the night there under the open sky or in a shelter they had constructed from tree branches. They would greet the dawn and bid farewell to the day there. After returning briefly to their parents' houses, they would hurry back to their chosen site. It called to them, it drew them to itself, and much as an infant inexplicably draws itself to a pair of loving parents. The parents did not ask the young lovers any questions. They simply waited in eager and joyful anticipation for their children to ask questions of them, all the while watching as their son and daughter spent time in deep meditation. And the children once more went off to their grand retreat. This might go on for months, even a year or two, and all during this time there would be no physical intimacy between the lovers. People in the Vedic settlements knew that these two lovers' hearts were creating a grand design, inspired by the energy of love. Right from birth, both he and she had been absorbing from their parents the lifestyle, knowledge, and mindfulness of the Vedic culture. They could share their deep knowledge, either of the stars burning in the night sky, or of the flowers unfolding their petals with the rising of the sun, or the purpose of the bees, or the diverse energies existing in space. From early childhood, both he and she had been bearing witness to the marvelous domains, oases, and paradise gardens their parents had created in love, and now they were aspiring to co-create their own. On their chosen plot of land, a hectare or more in size, the lovers laid out a plan for their real life ahead. The task before them was to mentally formulate a design for their home and work out an arrangement for a wide variety of plant life, where everything could work in mutual support and harmony. Everything would be arranged to grow on its own without requiring any physical effort on man's part. There were a whole lot of factors to be taken into account here, including the disposition of the planets, as well as the day-by-day flow of air currents. Come spring and summer, plants would exhale ethers and give off a delightful fragrance. The young lovers would try to arrange them so that whenever a breeze blew by, or whenever a breeze blew a bouquet of many different ethers, whenever a breeze blew by, many different ethers would waft into their dwelling. All this foreshadowed the birth of a grand and extraordinary complex. It consisted of divine creations. Besides, the place the lovers selected was to be transformed into a scene of splendor which would delight the eyes. Not on a canvas, but on living ground. A living design was being created in thought, one that would last forever. Even today, people can imagine how involved and concentrated thought can become when one is endeavoring to come up with a design for one's own home. A Doknik, too, will understand how, especially in the spring, one's thought can get absorbed in what one's plot of land will look like in the future. As a talented artist, planning out a picture also knows how he can get carried away by his thoughts. All of these aspirations were now concentrated in the two loving hearts. Their knowledge was enhanced by the energy of love, fostering new inspiration. This is why they did not even think about what we call today the pleasures of the flesh. Once the design was complete in their thoughts, the lovers first paid their respects to the bridegroom's home village, where they went around to every house and invited the residents to come for a visit. Each household awaited their arrival with great excitement and anticipation. The people of the Vedic culture knew that when lovers came to see them, a new energy of divine love would visit their domain, albeit just for a moment. And the marvelous space of each domain would smile at the energy of young love. There was no question of imagination or occult beliefs here. After all, even today, anyone finds the company of a good person more pleasant than that of an angry one. Lovers cannot be angry, especially when they come visiting as a couple. But in every family in the village, there was also a feeling of anxiety. Whenever the young couple dropped in on a garden, a courtyard, or a house, they would say just a few words to the residents. Just a sentence to each one. Something like, "Oh, what a splendid apple tree that you have," or "Your cat has a knowing look," or "Your bear is a real worker, very considerate." To any resident hearing the lovers praise a tree growing in the garden or a household cat, this was a sign of respect shown by the younger generation to the elders' way of life. Their appraisal was always sincere, for the one giving it was indicating that he too would like to have a tree or a bear of similar worth. It was with great pride and joy in the face of the whole village that each resident aspired to present the young couple with the object of their praise as a gift. And all would wait with anticipation for the day the couple had selected, when they would present their gifts to the bride and groom. In the meantime, the couple would also go from house to house in the bride's village. Sometimes it took 3 days to visit every family in the two settlements, sometimes more than a week. When the couple finished making their rounds and then the selected day arrived, people both young and old would rise at dawn and begin hastening to the site of the young couple's new home for a visit. People would take up a position around the perimeter of the couple's selected domain, marked out by dry branches. In the middle, next to the shelter, a little mound rose out of the earth, decorated with flowers. Look now, and you will behold the most extraordinary scene. There he is, look. Here is a young man coming out to greet the residents of two villages. He is magnificent, a virtual Apollo. With hair of russet brown and eyes of bright blue, he ascends the mound. Now, on top of the mound, Vladimir, that is his name, is excited. The eyes of all the people present are fixed on him alone, and in the ensuing silence he begins his speech. In front of everyone assembled, he sets forth the design of the new space which he has co-created for his beloved. With the aid of hand gestures, Vladimir tells where the apple tree will grow, as well as the cherry tree and the pear tree. He shows the location of future groves of pine, oak, cedar, and alder, along with what berry bushes will grow in between, what grasses and herbs will send forth their pleasant fragrances, and how easy it will be for bees to build their home among the trees, and where that workhorse of a bear will hibernate during the winter. He speaks quite quickly and with great inspiration, setting forth the carefully thought-through design. He goes on speaking for about 3 hours, and the whole time the people listen with rapt attention. And each time the young man points to a spot where something living will grow, according to his grand design, someone from the group of people listening will go over there and stand on the future side of the apple tree. pear tree or cherry tree. Sometimes this individual is a woman, sometimes a man, or an elderly person, but it could also be a child with eyes full of awareness, wisdom, and joyful contentment. Those stepping forth from the assembly are already holding in their hands saplings of the tree or plant designated for the selected spots where the beauty is to unfold. And as each one steps forth, the people bow to him, inasmuch as he has shown himself worthy of the young couple's appreciation, as they did the rounds in the village domains, for being able to bring forth beauty, which means that he has been found worthy of appreciation on the part of the Creator, the Father of all, the all-loving God. This is not a conclusion reached through superstition. It is all quite logical. People of the Vedic culture were wont to treat the young couple designing the splendid oasis as deities. Such treatment was not unfounded. After all, the Creator had performed his creation in an impulse of inspiration and love, and these young lovers, likewise inspired by love, have now created a splendid design. Look, the young man has finished speaking. He comes down from the mound and goes over to where his bride is standing. She has been following the whole proceedings with great excitement and emotion. He grasps her hand and leads her to the mound, where they take up the position together. And the young man utters these words in front of everyone assembled. I have not created this space of love in isolation. Here is my marvelous inspiration, standing beside me before you all. The girl, it would be better to refer to her as a maiden, initially lowers her eyes in the face of the whole gathering. Every woman has her own particular charm, but there come special moments in the life of every woman when she rises over everyone else. Such moments are not found in today's culture, but back then. Look, standing on the mound. Loibamala. We're just going to call her Milla, because I don't know how to pronounce her name. Milla has raised her eyes to greet the people around her. The cries of excitement of the whole crowd have merged into one. The girl's face has broken into a smile, a bold smile, not a saucy one. She is overflowing with the energy of love. Her cheeks glow more intensely than usual, and her clear eyes and body, vibrant with health, reach out to envelop the people, and the whole space around them is with radiant warmth. For a moment, the whole scene falls silent and still, and the young goddess shines before the people in all her beauty. And so there is no question of haste as the maiden's parents, accompanied by the whole family, both young and old, solemnly make their way to the mound where the young couple are standing. They pause at the mound and bow to the couple. Then the maiden's mother asks her daughter, All the wisdom of our family line lies in you, my daughter. Tell me, do you see the future of the land that you have chosen? Yes, Mama, I see it, she replies. Tell me, daughter, the mother continues, do you like everything about the future that you have been shown? The young maiden might answer this question in a variety of ways. Most often she would say, Yes, Mama, here will be a splendid paradise garden, a living home. But look and see, this particular temperamental girl, her cheeks flush with a bright glow, comes forth with a non-traditional response. The design is not bad. I really do like it, but I still should like to add a little something. Quickly jumping down from the mound, she all at once runs through the crowd to the edge of her future garden, where she stops and says, Here is where an evergreen should grow, with a birch beside it. When a breeze blows from that direction, it will first meet the branches of the pine, and then the birch, and then after that, the breeze will ask the trees of the garden to sing a tune. It will not be repeated exactly the same way each time, but it will always be a delight to the soul. And here, the maiden adds, running off a little to one side, here flowers are to grow. First there will be a flush of red, then over there, a little later, violets will spring up, and burgundy over there. The maiden, all aglow like a fairy, starts dancing around her future garden, and once more people remaining in the circle set themselves in motion, hurrying to carry the seeds in their hands to the spot on the ground the high-spirited girl has pointed out. Upon finishing her dance, she once more runs up to the mound. Here, standing next to her chosen one, she says, "Now the space here will be splendid in its sheen. The earth will produce the most marvelous scene. Tell everyone, my daughter," her mother once more addresses her, "who will be crowned to reign over all of this marvelous space around. Of all the people living on the earth, upon whom shall you bestow the crown?" The maiden takes a sweeping look at the people, all the people standing around, holding saplings and seeds in their hands. Each of them stands in a spot indicated by the young man according to his plan and the maiden's outline of the splendid scene to be, but no one is yet planting a seed in the ground. The sacred moment for that has not yet arrived, and at this point the maiden turns to the young man standing beside her on the mound and says, almost in song, "He is worthy to wear the crown whose thought is able to create a future that will be splendid all around." With these words, the girl touches the shoulder of the young man standing beside her. He gets down on one knee before her, and the girl places on his head a most beautiful crown, a garland woven from sweet-smelling grasses by the maiden's own hand. Then, running her fingers 3 times through her fiancé's hair with her right hand, she takes hold of his head with her left and draws it a little closer to herself. Upon her signal, the young man stands up. Then the girl runs down from the mound and bows her head ever so slightly, and as a sign of meekness. Right at this moment, the young man's father, accompanied by his whole family, is making his way over to the newly crowned groom. Approaching the mound, he stops and pauses in respect. Then the father begins speaking, his gaze fixed upon his son. "Who are you whose thought is capable of creating a space of love?" Whereupon the young man replies, "I am your son, and I am the son of the Creator. A crown has been placed upon your head, a sign of a great mission to come. You who are wearing the crown, what will you do as a reign over your domain?" "I shall create a future that all around most splendid will remain." "Where will you gain the strength and inspiration, my son, and crowned son of the Creator?" "In love. The energy of love is capable of wandering through the whole universe. How will you manage to see the reflection of universal love on the earth?" "There is one girl, Father, and for me she is the reflection of universal love on the earth." And with these words, the young man comes down to where the girl is standing, takes her by the hand, and leads her back up to the mound. Holding hands, they watch as the two families merge into a single group, sharing hugs and jokes and laughter, from the youngest child to the eldest present. Everything becomes quiet once more when the young man holds up his hand and proclaims, "My thanks to all who heard me in this place. My soul has spoken of the creation of a new space. My thanks to all who have held the energy of love in such high esteem. May what has been conceived by the soul's dream now sprout from the earth." These words have the effect of setting all the people standing around into joyful motion. And with pride and joy and great emotion, the people plant the seeds and saplings in the ground. Each one plants just one sapling in the spot indicated by the young man, set forth in his plan. Those not assigned a specific spot set about to walk around the perimeter of the plot which has already been marked out, and to the song of, how do you pronounce that? Huravat, a circle dance accompanied by choral singing, traditionally popular among Russians, Ukrainians, and Bulgarians. Okay. Huravat. And to the song of the Huravat, throw the seeds they have brought with them into the ground. Within the space of a few minutes, a marvelous garden has been planted, the space which has been created through a dream. And now the people retreat once more beyond the plot's perimeter. Only two families remain surrounding the mound where he and she, the young lovers, are still standing. Drops of rain from the skies are falling on the ground. The very warm rain is unusual and lasts but a short time. These are tears of joy and tenderness falling from the Creator's eyes to water the marvelous space co-created by his children. What could be dearer for a parent than the marvelous creations of his children? And once again the young man with the crown holds up his hand, and when all is quiet, he says, "Let all the creatures given to man by the Creator live together with us in friendship." Whereupon the girl and the young man come down from the mound and head over to the shelter where they stayed while working out the design. There's still a lot. After these words, out from the circle of people standing around, someone approaches the couple, accompanied by an old dog and a pup. The dog is the one that greeted the couple in a friendly way on their tour of the domains, which they had taken a great liking to. The visitor bows and presents the bride with the puppy. At his signal, the old dog goes and lies down at the young man's feet. This dog has been trained to help man teach the other animals. The young man orders the dog to sit by the entrance to the shelter, and presently the girl lets the puppy inside. Other people approach the shelter one by one, carrying in their arms a kitten or a lamb, or bringing a colt or a bear cub on a lead. People quickly fashion 3 branches into a wicker fence and attach animal pens to the shelter. As soon as the dwelling, which was just a short time ago used by people as sleeping quarters, is now filled with young animals, and there is tremendous significance in this, for in mixing with each other this way, these animals will forever live together in friendship, caring for and helping each other. No mysticism in this. It is the law of the Creator of nature. After all, you can find examples of this even today. If a puppy and a kitten grow up together, they will remain friends as adults. One of the other characteristics of the Vedic period was that people were fully aware of the purpose of the various creatures, and all animals served man. Man did not bother feeding the animals. On the contrary, they fed him. During the Vedic age, both man and his household pets were vegetarians and never ate meat. They would not even think of it. The tremendous variety of plants around were able to supply man's taste abundantly, not only his, but that of the animals surrounding him. In this instance, the bride and groom are presented by the residents of the 2 villages with the best that they have. After accepting the gifts, the couple once more ascend the mound. "Our hearty thanks to everyone," the bridegroom expresses their gratitude to those gathered. Thank you all for co-creating this space. My descendants will care for it over the centuries to come." "Our thanks to the mother who bore the Creator," says the bride. And turning to the young man, she adds, "For the joys of the Creator of the sun, S-U-N, the moon, the sprinkle of stars in the sky, and our most beautiful earth, we shall co-create everything you are able to think of. Together with you, my splendid goddess, and with the people," the young man answers, and adds, "You alone are capable of inspiring my dreams." Once again, the young couple come down from the mound. They are immediately surrounded by their respective families, all congratulating them. And the people dance a huravat. Around the plot, accompanied by a joyful song. But this time it is getting onward toward evening. The young couple each go back to their own home. For 2 nights and a day they will not see each other. Upon reaching home, after having spent so much effort creating, the young creator falls into a deep sleep. His beautiful bride does the same in her own bed. Those who remain at the spot where the co-creation took place in love will go on singing songs of the huravat. Older couples will go off by themselves with resurrected memories of how it all happened to them on a similar day of their own. And over the course of the following night and day, the best craftsmen from both villages will build the couple a little house to the accompaniment of songs and the huravat. They will fit the rows of timbers tight together, and the moss and grass between them making a sweet-smelling bouquet. And by the end of that day, the women of the villages will place the best fruits of their harvest into the new home. The two mothers will cover the bed with a linen counterpane, and by the second night, every last one of the visitors will be gone from this domain. In the meantime, after a good night's sleep, the young man awoke on this day to see the sun rise over the earth, illuminating his parents' house with its glad rejoicing. His first thought was for the crown that he had been given the day before. He took this and put it on his head, smiling at everyone, the picture of bliss. Accompanied by his brothers and sisters, he went over to a nearby spring to wash in the fresh spring water. Passing through the garden on his way back to the house, Vladimir caught sight of his mother. With a restrained smile, the mother began admiring her son. Whereupon the young man, bursting with excitement, could no longer restrain himself at the sight of his own mother. He picked her up in his arms with delight. Spinning her like a child, he exclaimed, "How marvelous is life all around, my dear mamma." "Oh," the mother exclaims, breaking into a laugh. Grandfather smiled behind his mustache. Grandmother then approached the happy pair, carrying a beautiful carved wooden ladle, and said, "Young god of ours, you stop right there. You must spare your gladsome energies. Drink this tea of calming herbs so that your energy does not burn you. Its time will come the following day." And after drinking the tea, the young man began conversing with his grandfather about the universe and the meaning of life. But the tea soon inclined him to sleep, and the young man, whom his grandmother called a young god, had soon nodded off to sleep in the hand-crafted counterpane. What was happening? Why did the grandmother call her grandson a god? Was she exaggerating, delighting in her admiration of the young man? Not at all. It was simply the case that her grandson had done deeds worthy of God's name. God had created the earth and everything living and growing upon it, and with all the knowledge he had assimilated from his forebears, the young man was able to distinguish the purpose and function of a multitude of creations, much to the delight of the Creator. This enabled him to create from them a marvelous living oasis, one capable of bringing joy not only to him and his beloved, but also to the generations of their children, and to people who would, over the centuries, look upon this splendid domain, which was created with love. Could any of all people's deeds on earth have delighted God more? What better and more significant thing could a man do with the space of one human lifetime on the earth? In the Vedic culture, the wedding rite was no occult ritual. As an inspiration to the likeness of the divine being, it is of tremendous practical significance. In showing his knowledge and aspirations to the people gathered, the young man in love was, in effect, being tested in front of them. His deeds showed that he included the knowledge of all the generations of his family, beginning with its pristine origins. And he added his own contribution, too. His creation was appraised as worthy by all of the people, and it was with great joy that they planted trees and herbs in the spots that he indicated. And the marvelous co-creation will flourish each spring and in ever more beautiful form. Yet for all this, not a single neighbor would feel the slightest envy at the sight of it, since everyone has been involved in the co-creating of this marvelous space of love. Each one now has their own little shoot they planted in the new splendid domain. When domains like this begin to multiply, the whole earth will be clothed in God's own flourishing garden. And in the Vedic culture, everyone knew that man has been given life eternal, and that a splendid life repeats itself when those living now aspire to beauty and perfection. So it's not bad to be a perfectionist. Domains of the Vedic culture. Domains that were to be known in subsequent occult books as paradise, as people lost their vast store of knowledge and imagined that this paradise could be perceived only over the distant horizon beyond the clouds, and all to enhance the significance of so-called modern science and covering up the poverty of their own thought. There's no point in debating this without practical proof, but debate settling actions can be quite simple. Let all those worthy, scholarly luminaries now living on the earth try, for example, to set up just a single oasis for a single family, a task which, in the Vedic culture, every young man in love had to cope with. A domain which is home to a happy family should be able to satisfy all the food requirements of everybody living in it, hour by hour. Disease should not be permitted to have even a foothold. The changing reality of the scene before man should moment by moment gladden his gaze. It should delight the ear with an infinite variety of sounds, and the nostrils with flowering fragrances, and provide ethereal food for the soul, nursing the newborn and preserving love forever. And so no member of the family should be wasting their energies on mundane concerns. Their thoughts should remain free. Thought is given to all people for creative purposes. The world of academy takes pride in its illusions. See, our ships are flying into space for the benefit of mankind. For mankind's benefit, you say? See all those bombs going off? They are to protect you. But are they really protecting us? See how this learned doctor has saved your life. But up to that point, life was in the process of being annihilated moment by everyday concerns. They saved the life of a slave to prolong his suffering. The world of academy is in no position to create even the similitude of a splendid domain because, again, there is a law of the universe which says, a single creator inspired by love is stronger than all of the sciences combined, which are deprived of love. Now the newlywed young man has slept his second night, his deep sleep undisturbed by anything. Only the image of his beloved sparkled and flashed like the stars. In his sleep, this image merged with the space of love they had created, the might and infinite variety of the universe. Vladimir awakes before dawn, and without a word to anyone, he puts on his garland and picks up a shirt that had been hand-embroidered by his mother. Then he goes to the spring-fed stream. The moon illuminates his path through the pre-dawn darkness, while garlands of stars twinkle in the heavens. After washing in the stream, he puts on a shirt and quickly makes his way to his sacred creation. The heavens begin to brighten, and there he stands alone on the spot where the two villages recently celebrated their joy, the place he created through his own dream. The power of the feelings and sensations within a man at such a moment can scarcely be comprehended by anyone who has not experienced them at least once for himself. It can be said that these sensations and feelings are divine in nature, and they increase in quivering anticipation of the first ray of dawn in which, there she is, his marvelous Mila. Illuminated in the dawn's rays, she runs to greet him and their co-creation. This vision incarnate runs to meet Vladimir. While perfection, of course, knows no real limit, it seems as though time has suddenly stopped for the two of them. Enveloped in the mist of their feelings, they enter into their new house. The table is spread with delicacies, and a tempting fragrance of dried flowers waft from the embroidered counterpane on the bed. "What are you thinking about right now?" she asks him in a heated whisper. "About him, our future child," and Vladimir gives a quiver as he looks at Mila. "My, how beautiful you are." No longer able to contain himself, he very tenderly touches her shoulder and cheek. Both are enveloped in the warm breath of love and carried away to unknown heights. Nobody in a million years will ever be able to describe in detail what happens between him and her when, merging into one in the impulse of mutual love, two people work out the likeness of themselves and God. But the God people of the Vedic culture know precisely that after the inexplicable miracle takes place, merging two into one, each of them still remains their individuality. And at the same time, for one explicable moment in the universe, quivers at the sight, the soul of a newborn child runs trippingly barefoot through the stars to the earth, embodying in himself the union of two plus a third as one. This act of sanctifying the union of two people in love during the Vedic age can by no means be considered a manifestation of the occult. It was an entirely rational act corresponding to their way of life. The ever-increasing feeling of love for one another in every family coupling bore witness to the level of this culture. In our modern day, this feeling of mutual love in married couples always tends to dissipate after a while. The energy of love is no longer within them, and this is something accepted as a given by human society. But this scenario is unnatural to man. It tells us that the lifestyle people lead today is unnatural. And a loving couple in the Vedic culture realized not with their mind but with their heart and soul that the spark of the feeling of love is a call to a divine co-creation. Take note of what the couple originally aspired to. Together, an impulse of inspiration, they mentally worked out their design, the design of a space for their love. It was in this space they had created that their child was conceived. 3 significant feelings of love merged into one for eternity. After all, a man, for reasons he cannot explain even to himself, retains a strong reverence all his life for his family domain, his motherland, for his child, and for the woman with whom all of this was co-created. It is only 3 feelings of love, not a single feeling all by itself, that can live for eternity. The birth of a son or daughter to a Vedic age family was also the occasion for a grand celebration and a life-significant rite. And there were many other celebrations back in those days, and there was absolutely no marital infidelity. Millions of happy families made the earth a delightsome place. It is the ranks of historians today, in their efforts to please the powers that be, who say the pristine man was once stupid, that this man killed animals and ate their meat in a frenzy and dressed himself in their skins. A monstrous lie is necessary to people trying to cover up their monstrous deeds. To be continued.